The Pacific Islands are having a busy week. French President Emmanuel Macron is in town. He's on a 5-day visit to the region and he's currently in Vanuatu. It's a country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, Vanuatu. Its population is around 330,000. Macron was given a traditional welcome by the government there. He attended a cultural event. He held talks with Vanuatu's Prime Minister and then he dropped a statement, the kind that you expect newspapers and channels to pick up immediately. The French president said, there is a new imperialism in the Pacific. Listen to this.
A new imperialism is emerging in the Indo-Pacific, particularly in Oceania. And a logic of power is threatening the sovereignty of many states, the smallest and often the most fragile.
So what exactly is Macron talking about? You see, the Pacific has become a battleground, a new battleground. It has traditionally been America's backyard, but in the last decade or so, China has made giant strides. So now it's a race. This month, China signed a policing deal with the Solomon Islands. Before that, the Americans struck a deal. They signed a defense agreement with Papua New Guinea. In fact, Joe Biden's top officials are in the Pacific right now. Foreign Minister Antony Blinken is in Tonga. Defense Minister Lloyd Austin is in Papua New Guinea. But which side is Macron on? You would think he's with America, but he isn't. The French president is offering a so-called alternative. He says he's against hegemony and confrontation. So he's pitching the French way. The question is, can he back it up? France does have presence in the Pacific Ocean, and I do not mean warships or aircraft carriers. France has sovereign land in the region. New Caledonia, French Polynesia, and Wallis and Futuna. France owns these territories. Around 1.6 million French citizens live here. Their exclusive economic zone spans almost 9 million square kilometers. My point is, France is a Pacific power, which is also why Macron's declaration is problematic. Yes, there is new imperialism in the region. America is taking over military bases. China is taking over policing duties. But what moral ground does France have? These Pacific territories are vestiges of French colonialism. Some of them have tried to break free. In 2021, New Caledonia held a referendum. Around 96% of the population chose to stay with France, not break free. There are pro-independence groups, but they boycotted the last vote. So before talking about new imperialism, maybe acknowledge the old one. President Macron has not described his Pacific plan in detail, but there are 3 broad themes. 1 is more political and military engagement. 2, more development aid. And 3, help against natural disasters. You see, Pacific Islands are on the front lines of climate change. It is their most pressing problem. But why is Macron pitching an alternative? Would it not be easier to join the Americans? Well, technically, yes. But there are 2 reasons why Macron is going alone. The first is AUKUS, the submarine alliance between Australia, the UK and the US, AUKUS, AUKUS. France was supposed to be building these subs for Australia, but that deal was snatched from them. And what's worse, there was no heads up. The announcement was a total surprise for France. And since then, Macron has pursued an independent Indo-Pacific policy. He's even reached out to India for that. So that's one reason. The second reason is more elaborate. French leaders, including Macron, are not happy being junior partners. They have bigger dreams. Call it Napoleonic tendency or strategic autonomy, but that is the truth. Meet Charles de Gaulle. He was president of France in the 1960s. His policies were aimed at creating a supranational Europe, not a lackey of the US, but a counterweight. That's what he wanted. He wanted to create a European army. He also downgraded France's membership in the NATO. In 1966, France exited NATO's military command structure. They rejoined only in the year 2009. So France has always had big ambitions, but Macron is cut, and perhaps Macron is cut from the same cloth. He has also proposed the creation of a European army. In the month of April, he had some tough words for the US. He said Europe cannot be America's follower. So the intent has been there, not just now, but even 60 years back. Which brings us to the question, what is holding France back? Well, in Macron's case, it is politics. He is an embattled leader at home. He has been pushed from one protest to another. In such situations, you cannot really spend much time on foreign policy. That is one problem. The second is the lack of economic heft. France's share of the global GDP is just 3%. The US makes up 24%. China makes up 18%. In fact, Germany, Japan, India, and the UK rank above France. Does that mean Macron's Pacific push is doomed to fail? Well, maybe not. His talk of a middle ground will attract attention for sure. If you align with the US or with China, the risks are higher. They may talk about peace and strategy, the US and China, but let's be clear, both these countries want staging grounds in the Pacific. No one is asking the Pacific countries what they want. Do you know what they want? Climate action. They need funds, knowledge, and resources to tackle climate change. It's a pressing issue for them, an existential issue. It's way more important than Taiwan or the South China Sea. If you can give them that, you can build lasting partnerships.